Right. Yes. What's your last name, please? Your last name.
Yusuf.
I'd like one. Oh, seven.
You first. First Bank. You first
And you're welcome to the Smoothest Style on Vegas Radio. We are Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. It's time for Freshly Pressed 981. And this morning, leading us through conversations in detailed analysis is Lakunle Yusuf. You can find him at Lakunle07 on social media. Good morning, Lakunle.
Good morning, Coyote. Good morning, Lagos. Christmas is in the air, and it was really, really, really cold this morning.
Yes, it was. It was really cold. A lot of mists in the air. Lagos, to be a part of our conversation, it's very simple. Please send your messages to 0809 444 0981. Also, we're streaming live on YouTube. So please head on down to our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/smooth981. Please add your comments so we can read your messages on WhatsApp and also via our YouTube platform. And let's dive right into it. Let's start off with the first story. It's from the New Telegraph. Reps pass 17.12 trillion 2022 budget raises oil benchmark to $62 per barrel. Now I've got a few questions here, but I want to start from this. Why was the budget raised from 16.39 to 17.12 trillion?
Okay, so it's typical of government, at least since 1999, hardly a year had passed without the National Assembly doing this. This can easily be adduced to the fact that oil, which is a basic and most important income earner, was benchmarked at $57 per barrel for the budget by the executive. As at crude Brent oil, which is the closest to what we have in Nigeria, closed at 71, 77 yesterday.
Okay.
So one would then imagine then that the thinking of the National Assembly would be that the estimation for next year at 52 is too low. So what they've just done is to find some kind of average between 52 and
57 and 60.
maybe something in the region of that. Maybe it's not so less than 70, 68, and so on and so forth in the month, in the period of the budget exercise. So they've actually raised it to 62, and that easily explains the difference in what the what the executive proposed and what the the National Assembly approved. Having said that, the basic highlight of the budget for me, it's the things that where the monies are going to go to. Um, the increment actually is just about 73 billion, really, from what the story is all about. Then about 869.6 billion is for statutory transfers. Statutory transfers meaning all those first line deductions.
Okay.
Your National Assembly, INEC, police, even the National Assembly itself, and so on
Okay.
and so. So those are the
Okay.
ones who earn that first line of deduction. There's no story about it.
It goes to
They
them.
get their money straight. Yeah. And then our recurrent expenditure is about 5.6 trillion. That's about for salaries, emoluments, running of government business, and so on and so forth. Capital expenditure is recurrent expenditure is 6.9
9
trillion.
trillion.
Capital expenditure is 5.6 trillion. That's the investment in our infrastructure and so on and so forth. Okay. And the one that everybody is always scared of every day that we talk about, our debt servicing, it's 3.9 trillion of the budget. That's just about 24% of the total budget. The implication of that is that it means that for every 100 naira the government earns, we are going to be spending 24 naira to service our debts.
24 naira to service our debts
yes,
for every 100 naira that's earned.
So let's keep that at the back of our mind
But is
according
it
to this budget.
sustainable though? Is it sustainable in the long run, given the fact that oil prices rise and fall? You just mentioned now that they've pegged the oil benchmark to $62 per barrel, right? So what then happens if there's a fall, there's a sharp fall or something?
And don't forget that there will be income from other sources. For example, this story tells us that at the beginning, tells us that the president actually sought the approval of the Senate for some 276 billion environment to fund part of the 2021 budget.
Okay.
So that means that somehow, even when these projections are made, there are incidentals that happens. For example, something would
There's a
happen.
fall
For
in price
example,
for oil, for example.
funds will come from somewhere else. For example, custom duties
Okay.
might go beyond the estimation that they've made. Oil prices might go beyond even the
Estimated prices as
estimated
well.
prices. So somehow, some of these things will balance itself out. What we should worry about is all these monies, if they will be spent exactly for what they are supposed to be spent for particularly the infrastructure bit, and how would we use them. Having said that, then the story went on to break down department, ministry by ministry, department by department, how much each department has proposed. Then the beauty of this is that at least it has taken just about this budget presentation was made to the Senate on December 7th, if I remember very well. And today, December 22nd, we're already talking about it being approved. It then must mean that there has been some improvement in the processes
In the
of
swift
how
processes
our
of which it's
budgets
been passed.
gets to be done, how it gets to be reviewed, defense of proposals by MDAs and so on and so forth. So I think that that's a plus for the government, that at least we are getting an improvement. But don't let us forget, just this morning, the news came that the Senate also approved for the government a 90 days extension of the 2021 budget. So we need to also look at that. Then that means that there are a lot of things in the 2021 budget that are not done, that are unspent, that has to be done. So which means that most likely
If the
two
monies are not
budgets
spent.
will run concurrently
Okay.
in the early days of 2022.
All right. If you're out there and you want to add your 2 cents to our conversation this morning, feel free to do that. 0809-444-0981. And don't forget, we're streaming live on YouTube as well. It's youtube.com/smooth981FM. Real quick, let's move on to our next story. It's from the Guardian newspaper. It says Nigeria secures a $700 million World Bank loan for water projects. Now, you just mentioned that a lot of people have been talking about the fact that they can't, what's the word now? They've been talking about the fact that we've been taking so much loans, right? And then we're getting another loan that's 700 million at this point in time. You just said that for every 100 naira that's made, the government will spend 24 naira for this current budget. So is it appropriate at this point in time to be taking more loans?
This $700 million World Bank loan for water projects, it's not like they are just looking for it. There is this medium-term expenditure financial projection of the government that's been done since 2018 or thereabout, that has stated out, okay, in the next 5 years, these are the things we want to do. These are the monies we will need to do them. This is where we hope to find the money from, and they've listed them from the part of it from the budget, from loans, from grants, from whatever. The loans, they've listed where they can get the loans from, the World Bank, ADB, Chinese Exim Bank, Sukuk, bonds, all of that. They've listed all that. So all this, it has gone to the Senate. The Senate has approved it. These monies are only now being
sought for.
Exactly from those places that they have listed, that possible places where they can get the monies from. So where we should have had a problem with this was when that MTEF was being approved at the Senate. But now it's been approved, it's already some kind of law. So what they are doing here is that they are just following through the processes of what's been previously approved in that documentation. Now, the thing about this is that 7 states are going to benefit from this.
Okay.
That's Imo, Delta, Bauchi, Ekiti, Katsina, Kaduna, and Plateau, right? So these loans technically are not owed to the federal government. It is owed to the states.
Okay, so in other words, the states
federal
have to pay
government
this
is
back?
guaranteeing this loan. So to the World Bank, is the federal government that are going to ask, give me my money.
Okay.
You know that that's one of the issues that government typically has when they say, when they do FAC, and government says your external loan, I'm going to deduct from source.
Okay.
And governors say no, you can't do it. These are typically those type of loans. Like the minister says here that we're just trying hard to support the states. All the people are not in the federal government, they're in the states. The states are primarily responsible for providing water for the people. If they don't invest, what can we do? So the government, the federal government, is standing as
a guarantor
of the loan for these states. It's not like because there are 7 states and it's 700 million, there to be 100 million each. It would have been interesting, it would have been nice if we'd seen the exact breakdown of what each state is taking. Okay, so the point now for us in this matter is that for every resident of these 7 states, please follow the money. It's been approved. The money will come to your state for water, provision of potable water. Please follow the money, follow your governor, ask your governor questions
so that things
about
can
this
be held accountable.
So that, exactly, so that we can account for how this money is being spent.
All right, let's take some messages. This one here from Yemi from Marina says, please allow me to make a minor correction on your analysis. You said for every 100 naira earned, 24 naira is for debt service, but the right statement is that for every 100 naira we plan to spend, 24 naira is for debt servicing. Note that we compare debt repayment to revenue earned, not allocated budget. We all know that the budget never gets completely utilized. Okay, thank you so much for that, Yemi. Appreciate that. Real quick though, let's move on to our next story. And this one here, it comes from the New Telegraph. We've been talking about this for a minute now. We talked about this yesterday as well. In fact, we've been talking about this since Monday. So the Electoral Act, right? Tension mounts as senators move to override Buhari's veto. Now we talked about, the president not assenting to the bill yesterday, and then for a number of reasons really. And some people have said that it's not in the interest of the people. Some people have said that it only benefits a certain people in government. But the question here is this: some people from the Senate are looking to override this, and we remember we talked about the fact that 2/3 of the majority is what's required. So how do we see this playing out?
The big elephant in the room this Christmas period. Now, let me quickly just start by quoting verbatim from this report, right? The report says all the senators who spoke also insinuated that they were fighting a battle of political survival from the hands of their state governors, who would do anything to take over all political structures in the states. If we go by the statement of these senators, it confirms what we already know, that the governors in their states are lord of the manor, and they have the resources, the power, the means to do as they like. So in my humble and personal opinion, I think that this is an unnecessary law. Yeah. Why do I say that? The section of the Constitution that the Senate is coming from to say that they have the power to do this says, I can't remember the verbatim, something like the National Assembly shall have the power to provide guidelines and rules for political parties.
Okay.
It will provide guidelines and rules. It does not say it will provide how. It must specify how they will comply with the guidelines and rules that they've stated. It's just like you say, you must go to Ibadan. Yeah.
But it didn't specify how.
It's different from saying you must go to Ibadan by bus from Ojota Park. If what the Senate is trying to do is trying to do, you must go to Ibadan by bus from Ojota Park. They are not stopping at you must go to Ibadan. That's what they are trying to do with this thing. But the real thing in this story itself is that it's a battle between a David and a Goliath. The Goliaths being the governors, the Davids being the members of the National Assembly. The governors, for example, are bad for maximum of 2 terms to be governors.
Okay.
What we have seen over the years is after their 8 years as governor, majority of them
they move on to the Senate.
The implication of that, the man in the Senate or let's say the Senate itself, because they don't go to the House of Reps.
Okay.
They go to the Senate. The man who is in the Senate, he's not term tenure bad. He could stay there for all his life. Yeah.
Okay.
So the man who is governor, who is leaving, wants to go to Senate, reserves the Senate seat of a senatorial district in the state for himself, automatically knocking out the man who is there.
Yes.
So the people in the Senate wants to fight that because they don't want nominations. I typically would use Lagos State's AD, AC, ACN, and now APC to illustrate this. Since 1999, they've used all these methods of nominating candidates. They've used direct, like the case of Governor Sanwo-Olu now and the previous governor, Governor Ambode.
Yes.
They've done option A4. They've done consensus. They've done several. This item of party internal democracy should be a matter of the constitution of the parties as guided and ruled by the National Assembly. It is not the National Assembly's place to tell a political party how. There is no guarantee. Besides, there is no guarantee that when they do direct primaries, that it still won't be hijacked.
But it still keeps it open.
It's
right?
still a matter of the highest bidder.
But like, let me ask you this. But it still keeps it open. It means that if it is done, if it's done in an open way that the Senate is proposing, that means that these governors that you're saying is reserving the seats for themselves. The possibilities are limited for them. Yes.
How do you mean open?
It means in the sense that if there is an open election, that means that anybody can actually, get that position that's being vied for. And besides, before we even, speak on this, let's also talk about the interest of the common man out there. How does this bill affect the common man?
The interest of you and I is not in this matter at all. The interest is about, I want self-preservation for everybody arguing this case. Okay, look at it this way. The senators themselves feel that the leadership of the Senate is siding with the government. Because if it was this important to them, yesterday and Monday, they resumed from the weekend. Yesterday, there was a plenary. If it was almost all that important, they claim they have 73 signatures already.
Yeah.
They need only 73 in the Senate.
They need 72. They've only got 73 now.
They need 73. They need 72. They are 73 now.
Yes.
So why didn't they go ahead and veto the override the president's veto? Yes, if it was that important to them. See, it's all politics that is playing out.
But let's just say, for the sake of arguments, now they didn't do that yesterday. Is it possible? Is there a time that can still be done?
They are going on Christmas break, and they are not resuming until January 18th or thereabout. So we'd wait till January 18th when they come back, and then all the politics will happen between now and then. And then when they come back, we would see a result. But when this kind of things happen, I can bet you it is just politics. Okay, the back and forth, they will find a political solution to it. Yes, but
so
when we look at the story, when we look at
point of view that nothing is going to be done as far as this is concerned, since the president has made his decision not to assent the bill, it's going to be left as is.
I can't say that because it is politics. By the time they come back in January 18th, we would see how they will resolve it. But I can tell you for free that it is not about you and I. It is not about good governance. It is about self-preservation for everybody involved.
Let's get the people out there involved as well. Let's hear what your thoughts are. Please send them to 0809-444-0981. Fred from Dolphin says, Fred from Festac rather says, if the government fails to pay back the loan, then who pays for it? I mean, he was talking about the 700 million loan for the state governments. I mean, that's obtained by the federal government. Also,
government is a continuum. The next government carries the debt burden.
This one here says, real quick, this from Otsunuga Sunday says, point of correction, we will spend more than 24% of the revenue to service debts because the budget itself is predicated on borrowing substantial parts of the budget, not revenue earned. Okay, and this one here says, good morning. Analysts luckily just mentioned that the states are going to benefit from the loans the federal government is taking. My question here is, what has Anambra State done to Nigeria that they are not excluded in all these projects? And this is Austin. I believe you're trying to say that they're excluded from these projects. This is Austin from Satellite. Dami comes in to say the amount of ink and effort expended on this issue is clearly indicative that where our priorities what the priorities of our elected officials are. And finally, MEC says, we didn't even know that Buhari was back from the Turkish globetrotting. So he's taking his third Pfizer dose. Great. They will start distributing expired. All right. Thank you so much, MC. Appreciate that. If you're out there and you want to add to our conversation as well, don't forget we're streaming live on YouTube. So please head on down to our YouTube platform to be a part of the conversation. But real quick, let's move on to our next story. And next story is next story talks about the reps passing a controversial infectious bill into law. So against all odds, the House of Representatives on Tuesday, December 21st, 2021, at its last plenary day of the year, passed into law the controversial infectious bill. So please, Lakon, walk us through this. What does this bill mean? I mean, what role does it play?
Like everything about us that we like to play politics with, sometimes while we do the politics, some truths emerge and some facts also emerge. And in the process of trying to be, I am right, you are wrong, we some kind of don't listen to each other properly on these matters. And I didn't think that there was any reason for this bill to be controversial as being used there. I never thought it was. I just thought that it was a matter of every party understanding themselves what it meant. We were here in 1997 or so. Pfizer vaccine, Kano made an argument about some vaccines that were used there, and a lot of people misunderstood the concept. But at the end of the day, we found out that Pfizer was actually at fault, and they paid some huge amounts for compensation subsequently. And I think that it is based on that background. Certain parts of the country also objected to this bill. So I think that for example, the bill passed the second reading in April 2020, and this is December that it's just been passed. Typically, when a bill passes second reading, within a week, 2 weeks, it is sent to the president for assent. But this has taken this long, and I want to assume that it is a continuous engagement in that process that caused the delay in it being passed. What the bill is actually speaking to is to actually look at how we will plan, react, execute, and prevent infectious diseases in the country, which also includes vaccinations, spending, and so on and so forth, about things like that. And this was actually very much highlighted by the pandemic that we're still in, that's been with us since September 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that it is important that while politics is being played with a lot of things, one of the things that politicians should play with is our health. And I want to, and I would like to congratulate
the Senate for eventually somewhat protects getting the people.
Yes, and I want to congratulate the Senate for finally getting this over the line, and it's now left for the Ministry of Health, and other agencies in the health sector to help us propagate this and let us act on it so that we can be safe.
Real quick, let's move on. This one from our YouTube page from Biola Olanio says, hi to you. I think if the oil benchmark is raised, then it's the revenues projection that should go up and not the aggregate expenditure. They must have added other expenditure lines to the budget. Also, Olaposi Olaturegun says it might be politics. However, some politics will benefit the common man more. Political parties should have a transparent way of selecting their candidates. I think he's going back to the electoral bill that we just discussed a few minutes ago. One more time, if you're out there and you want to add your thoughts to our conversation, please feel free to send your messages to 0809-444-0981. Real quick, let's talk about the federal government registering 9 million pupils under the National Homegrown School Feeding Program. So, I mean, this has been ongoing for a minute now, right? But let me give you the background story. So the federal government on Tuesday said it had so far registered no fewer than 9 million pupils to its National Homegrown School Feeding Program. Basically, the idea here is this: how can we investigate and also know the true details of this? Because some type of funding has gone to this project, and it's still ongoing at the moment. So, luckily, what are your thoughts concerning this?
Okay, so the minister was represented in Ilorin where this event held by the Deputy Director of Planning, Research and Statistics. And the minister explained that the federal government was responsible for the release of funds, guidelines, policies, and monitoring. The state carries out the day-to-day implementation, including the procurement of foods, food items, selection of cook, vendors who prepared, cooked, and served the meals. So, what the federal government only reports is documentation that's been sent in by the states. Yeah. So, in Nigeria today, UNICEF says that about 10.5 million Nigerian children are out of school. So, these 9 million that's been reported, are they part of that 10.5
that are out of school?
Or these are the 9 that are being fed, that are already school, that are being fed, and none of this 10.5 has been incentivized to come to school because they will get at least one meal. Okay, for me, the success of this program can only be measured by 2 things: the increment in number of school children from the inception of this program to date. Let's say, as I started, there were 1 million children in school. What number has increased? What number has it increased to? Because the thing was supposed to be, one of the things was supposed to be was that to attract people to come to school because they are guaranteed one meal, at least one balanced meal a day. The second thing is, what is the volume of economic activity in those localities in terms of food? Because like the minister said here, vendors who cook, the food they cook, and so on and so forth, are sourced locally in each location.
And they've created a lot of jobs in that
exactly.
regard.
What is the number? What is the difference in economic activity around that in those localities where these things are going on? If we don't have the data for these two, we cannot really say that we can measure the success of this. We have spent a lot of money on this. Even at the peak of the pandemic, the minister reported that they still kept feeding children in school. So that the things that, like I said, don't let us, like I said, the federal government is only reporting documentation. So where the real activity is actually happening is in the states. So we need to find out what the states are actually, because I can write a documentation of 100% success from my state, and that's what the federal government will report. But meanwhile, it is 0% that I'm actually doing. So that's the real thing that we need to actually check out.
This one here from Akintoye says, I disagree with Lakunle's views on the Electoral Act. In my view, this is the first step to ending godfatherism and giving every Nigerian an opportunity to contest for elective office. As long as our electoral laws do not support independent candidacy, then direct primaries should be considered. Also, this one here from Ruth from Festac says, my goodness, the problem of our schools food-based. Our federal government only goes about implementing laws that makes no sense. Please, what improvement has the feeding done to the improvement of our educational policies? And also, Fred finally comes to say, sorry, Lakunle, you have not said anything serious about this infectious bill. Okay, all right. Real quick, Lakunle, I wish we could respond to that real quickly, but finally, let's quickly talk about this last story in one word. Plateau imposes development tax on citizens to drive revenue. What do you think about this? So the bill is, they're saying that every individual will pay at least 300 naira, right? And also banks and other, agencies will pay a certain amount of money to drive development in Plateau State. Do you think this will work? Do you think this won't work? In one word.
Comme c'est, comme ça.
All right. Well, I guess that's all. That's all we're going to take. Thank you so much, Lakunle, for being a part of the program. Thank you so much, Lagos. There's more to come. In a few more minutes, it's going to be time for Lagos Talks 981. We'll take the rest of the messages we couldn't take there on Fresh to Press 981. However, you can catch Lakunle on social media. It's at Lakunle07. Okay, Lakunle70, excuse me. On social media. And Fresh to Press 91 comes to an end, but Lagos Talks continues in a few more minutes. So please stay with us. Hi, if I see like
Is
say,
there a particular story that you want to address on YouTube? You told us.
Oh, okay. This
The news. In-depth analysis
Go
of
ahead.
national
this two things. The infectious disease bill. I mean, it's there's not much to it, much more than because why it's taking that long.
okay.
It's a bill.
Yeah,
It's
but what
not
does it?
actually the
I think what
execution
what
of
this guy
it.
Fred was asking is, what does it really do? What does it really mean?
We've mentioned that it's supposed to be a plan, an execution, response, safety
Okay.
of people. Okay, so if those are the things that are involved, how do we react to it? From where? Which agencies are involved? Who do we report to? Who is responsible for and to making these things work? That's typically what's in the bill. Okay, vaccines, where do you source them from? Who do you source them for? How do you pay for it if you
Okay.
have to pay? Those are the basic things that are in there. It's just like every other typical government policy about how we want to do things. So we have to have a what do they call that thing? Infectious disease center. Do we want to have one in each state? Do you want to have one in every local government? How are we going to fund it? What's the involvement of state government? What's the involvement of local government? Blah blah blah. So that the basic things that I need. And those people are saying, look, you cannot bring this thing here. We have a bad record of something, a previous record of something not very interesting that happened to us.
Okay.
And engagements continued until they agreed that okay, this is fine, then we can pass it. But we cannot speak to the final details of the bill until we see the acts after it's been assented to. Every other thing will just be speculations. Then Plateau State, every state needs money. Plateau is people are running out of Plateau State every day because
But
of
do you think the 300
insecurity.
naira is sustainable? That's the question now, because they're asking every individual to pay 300. So people haven't had 3 square meals, even one, and you're asking each individual to pay 300. And then when these monies are collected, what would they really be used for?
That's always the problem. Follow the money. Look, I don't have a problem with people paying. Those who will pay will pay. Those who don't want trouble of government, because government will use more than legal means to want to collect the money. Yeah,
Okay.
they will say they have given it to collection agents, and we know when they say collection agent, you know what it means. Those ones who harass you on the road, in your house, everywhere to get the money out of you. Those who will pay will pay. Those who can't pay won't pay. Those they can get to pay will pay. Yeah, particularly all those banks, they will look at how much they say we should pay. Yeah, write it to your P&L per branch. You know those kind of things will
Yeah.
happen.
So, but
So they
do
will
you
get
think this is
money.
a good move for the development of the state?
It's actually you know now everybody's desperate. Everybody just wakes up one morning. How can I make money?
Money, yeah.
And sees it. Now the first thing to challenge is, as the state's House of Assembly pass it into a law, or is it just a pronouncement of the governor? For example, so if it's now a law, then we can then go to court to go and challenge it. If it's a pronouncement of the governor or an agency of government, everybody could
We
as well
shouldn't,
ignore
yeah,
it.
we shouldn't pay
Okay.
attention to
So
it.
it's that's why I said come see come sir. It's neither here nor there for them. We see what they said in Lagos some time ago that housewives should pay, is it 25 or 25,000 a year as tax. And I'm saying, so if my wife is a housewife, the money I give her,
Is what
she's
she
going to
should
pay
pay for tax.
25,000. That means that I'm paying tax twice.
Yeah.
You know, so those are the kind of things, and that's always a problem with when people say multiple taxations in Nigeria that is bad for business. So the man who runs the business in Plateau will pay tax for his employees, will pay his own personal income tax, will pay corporate tax to government. Then he's driving on the road. Somebody will hold you. Where's your receipt for your 300 naira?
And then he pays that one again too.
And because he can pay 300 naira from his wallet,
He
he will
just
not think it's
pays,
a
you
lot
know,
of money.
yeah.
That's the psyche that there is now. That's why they've mentioned that small money.
Amount of money.
All right, luckily. Thank
But by
you.
the time you collect from 1,000 people or 10,000 people,
Or 1 million people.
exactly.
Thank you, Lakme, for your time. Thank you
you
for
so much,
joining us.
Sophie.
Say bye bye to YouTube.
Bye.
Thank you, YouTube.